Moin! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. My name is Mace, coming to you from Canada, British Columbia, to be specific. This is part two. We were taking a look at this video. It was titled Germans Take Their Kids to Breweries, which is the main point in the title. Subtitle is Shocking Kid-Friendly Spaces. The primary subject of the video isn't necessarily about taking children to breweries. It's about the differences culturally between Germany and America. She's American. She's an expat living in Germany. And she's primarily speaking about various spaces, public spaces, predominantly, and how they differ in her experience from the United States to Germany, and how she's found it just wonderful, having all of these different options. Like, at rest stops, how beautiful and clean and wonderful the bathrooms are. There's even like play areas. There's features which really make it easy as a parent or more convenient. It's been interesting to watch. I'm not a parent. I do hope to be a parent someday. And, it's something I'm looking forward to. And it's interesting to see perspectives of other parents, obviously. Let's hop into it. See what else we get.
And that's farmers markets. Now, this is just generally a community
Sorry, turn it up a bit.
Which means that the very young and the very old all get to participate here in their shopping experience. But if Jack was with me today, I think he would probably tell you that this is his favorite item on the list. And that's because, I kid you not, every time we head to the farmer's market, that kid gets an entire free meal. We stop at the produce booth, and Jack always leaves with either a free apple or...
That's amazing. And nutritious. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. But that's amazing. Farmers markets in Germany, we've seen them on prior videos, and how incredible they are as a communal activity, as a space to get fresh produce, to fresh products, cool artisanal things. Whereas I live in a very small town. I think sometimes I mention that, like, I live in a small town, but it's really small. And we have a farmer's market, and there's farmer's markets around, but I'm sure they're not as good as yours.
A free banana. Then we head on over to the butcher, at which point he always gets a free sausage or a Schreibeleiner to snack on his way. And then at the end of our journey, we head over to the bakery cart, where the vendor so kindly always gives him a little mini pretzel for the road, which again is so cute. But it's so wonderful though too, because as I go along these shopping trips, I find that it actually makes shopping a lot easier. If my kids get snacks along the way, they're content and happy. They're also a little bit occupied. But it also, again, just...
That's true. Kids love getting things, right? You hand kids something, they're going to be... intrigued. First off, if it's food and they like it, they're going to be happy, and then they're going to be content for a finite amount of time, but at least you get that. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, lucky kids. I wish I was a kid in Germany and I could collect all of these snacks and things.
Makes me feel as a parent so welcome in these spaces that shopping with kids, especially in this group setting, one that's really open, is sometimes difficult with little ones around, because you kind of got to keep them with you and contained. But in these cases, my kids actually shop along with me, and they get to participate in that, which is so cool. Next up on my list is grocery stores. Now, grocery stores can be a bit tricky with little ones. I'll even admit that. But one of the things that I like so much about my grocery store experience in Germany has been that, again, my kids actually get to participate in the shopping experience. And when they're an active participant, not just a bystander or a kid that's being asked just to sit in the cart and wait, they have a lot more patience, which is really important. But they also learn the skill of helping to pick out what we're eating and help to plan our meals together. And I find that my kids are actually a lot better behaved when they have an activity to do. So at our grocery store, they actually not only have little mini grocery carts for the kids to go shopping around, but they actually make the different shopping areas a lot more interactive for kids. For example, this spot in our grocery store has a live webcam of the free-range chickens where the...
So those little shopping carts, we have those too. Probably not as prevalent or common, but it's always awesome when you see them. They're so cute. Like anything that's like a miniature or a smaller scale to an adult item is always really, really cool, I think. I always show a lot of interest in them anyways. Any object like that that's like to a different scale or to a child's scale, it's cool. I think that is including them in that process and making them feel included and seen, and also giving them the skills or learning the chance to learn alongside mom and go shopping. That's great.
Eggs come from. And that's a spot that, again, Jack always makes us stop and see how the chickens are doing that day, which is really cute. Now, I will admit, this next place on my list doesn't technically fit my initial requirement of being an everyday space, but I wanted to mention it because it is just so cool. Recently here in Germany, we went through Carnival or Fastnet or Fasching, depending on where you live. It, of course, comes with different names.
We've seen multiple videos on this. I still find some of the masks creepy. I know that's part of the appeal and part of the point. But yeah, the tradition is really, really cool. I love it. It's great. German festivals. I hope I can see one day. I will see one day. It's just a matter of time, right?
But these festivals specifically are so wonderful for children because, at least in our area, they actually have an entire day of this festival with specific activities that are kid-centric. For example, during Fastnet, they not only got free pretzels and free Wurst, but they had whole displays for the children to actually participate in the different traditions, to learn about those traditions. And it was just such a really fun community event that happened to be kid-centric. But it was also nice because, you know, Carnival or Fastnet or Fasching is part of the whole community. So the kids really do feel like they're a part of the celebration and not just an afterthought. And at least for me, as a foreigner living in Germany, being able to take my kid to things like this have made all of the difference in just making us feel so much more well integrated. But also, again, like there isn't these parts of life in Germany that are only for adults or only for kids, but that they really make an integrated effort for all of us to have fun in our own way, which is really nice. So next up on the list, I wanted to talk a little bit about
Berlin.
Public transit in Germany. Now, granted, if you live in a city in the United States that has public transit, you're probably going to find some pretty nice family-centric things too. For example, you might have a nice place to wheel a stroller onto your streetcar or onto the subway station. But in Germany, I really do feel like they take this one step further. For example, on the train network here in Germany, not only do they have whole train cars that are devoted to families where kids can run up and down the aisles and talk and chat, and you don't really feel like you're disturbing other people. But if you want, they even have family cabins that you can reserve that have closing doors and special decorations that are specifically for children, which makes the entire experience so much more fun. And especially as a parent, who might be traveling on public transit, being able to...
That's amazing. Making that effort, making a space in which the child has interactive things to do. There was even a little game there on the side of the train. It's true that I think making spaces for children when it comes to education or when it comes to recreation or whatever extracurricular activities they're doing, when they're entering spaces, buildings specifically, making the rooms feel like you don't want the rooms to feel institutional in their architecture, or you don't want them to feel sterile of interactivity. So having that variety, that interactivity, the art, the color, all of those things is going to stimulate their little minds and help them learn, help them participate, help them activate the things in their brain that they need to develop, which is so important as a kid because they're taking everything in. In my space, the work that I do, I've mentioned it, I think, on the channel before, but I work in social services and I work, in rehabilitative, a rehabilitative program. And our program really emphasizes and purposefully makes our spaces welcoming and non-institutionalized. You don't want them to be sterile and, really harsh lighting and monochromatic. You want to have some variety and some beauty and some interactivity and some comfortability. You want things to make people feel welcome and warm and comfortable. So that goes a long way, certainly, in any space that we enter, even into an adulthood. So
feel like you're not a bother to other people, but also make your kids feel like they can have some fun, especially on those long distance trips, is really just so refreshing, and something that, again, I found to be one of the most surprising culture shocks after moving here to Germany. Okay, now last but not least, you're probably wondering where I am even filming this video today. And that's right here at the Rothaus Brewery in the Hochschwarzwald in Germany. One of my absolute favorite places to come with kids. That's right, you heard me. Going to a brewery is one of my favorite places to take my little ones. One of the biggest culture differences between life in the United States and life in Europe,
I kind of want to see behind the camera if there's people walking by what the heck is this lady doing?
Is a much more relaxed and community feel around wineries and breweries. In the United States, these are very much adult-only spaces, and the vast majority of wineries aren't also going to have spaces dedicated for kids, but that cannot be further from the truth than here in Germany. Not only does the Rothaus Brewery actually have one of the most epic playgrounds I've ever seen, but their beer garden space is so much more of a community space for the very littlest one.
I would be spending so much time there. Just let the kid run around and go in the beer garden, and you got a perfect eagle's eye view. That's amazing. Here in Canada, we definitely have a lot of breweries. Breweries have been exploding, I think, across our society. Microbreweries, and making those spaces welcoming to children, I think, is a really, really big part of incentivizing parents to take them along to these spaces and have a beer and have some lunch, right? So a lot of our breweries are definitely very, very child friendly. Pubs, probably certain ones not so much, but for the most part, yeah, we're a very good place to raise kids, I think, where I'm at. And I think a lot of the Canadian cities do well at that, and city planning and infrastructure and policy gives thought to this, to making community spaces interactive, making community spaces with playgrounds, and integrating, mixed use, having a bar or a beer garden, and making it easy and convenient for the parents to bring the kids along. That's great. Good job, Germany.
And the oldest ones to enjoy.
It's got a
People
little excavator.
are not afraid to bring their kids here. In fact, they're encouraged to do so. And being able to feel welcomed as a parent to bring your kids to a brewery doesn't simply just mean that I'm able to actually find moments to relax a little bit more as a parent. Again, drinking responsibly. But I think there's also just this sort of idea that these spaces don't have to be separated. There's, I guess, almost an opportunity for me to help teach my kids that drinking isn't something that is done in excess, but that you can enjoy a beer responsibly or alcohol-free. Heck, there's an entire menu of non-alcoholic beverages. But it also means that these community spaces can be enjoyed by everyone. I don't know, I just find that this space specifically, which is why I wanted to come here and film this video, is just one of the standout places that is so dramatically different from the United States. Because again, I just feel like this is one of those spaces that you can bring your kids, and it makes just a world of a difference in living a life that isn't before kids or after kids.
That excavator thing is sick. That's awesome. That's amazing. Speaking of alcohol free and alcohol, I've definitely been finding the last couple of years drinking a lot less and exploring alcohol free options, because I'm just finding I don't like the way alcohol makes me feel anymore. It's getting to be where I'm just I'll go months now without drinking, and it doesn't faze me. But hockey season's starting, and it's custom to have a beer in the dressing room after hockey. So I will be doing that. It's great to have a beer with your friends after playing a sport you love. And it's just so enriching as a weekly activity for me. Like, I absolutely love it. It's one of my highlights of my week, getting out on the ice and keeping in shape, keeping fit. You know, I just returned from the gym. I'm really becoming more and more conscious of this stuff. And I think a lot of younger people certainly as well. So that ties into this video topic of raising children consciously and raising them with health, fitness, community, all of these things intertwined and combined to make, you know, our societies more welcoming, friendly, fun, right?
But just life that's great regardless. But yeah, those are my top 10 places that, at least for me, are kid-friendly without being kid-centric, and that have been perhaps the most surprising thing for me as a parent living here in Germany. But I realize that's not an exhaustive list, so if you have places that you think deserve to be on this list, please let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed what you saw today, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And for more content from Type Ashton, hit that subscribe button. So I'll see you next Sunday. Cheers!
You know what? It was a interesting topic for a video, actually. I think that I enjoyed watching it, and not a lot of the content really surprised me that much. I think I mentioned in the last video, like, I think Germany probably is a little bit more innovative and a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to some of this stuff, especially compared to, say, the United States, like she mentioned. But all in all, very, very interesting stuff. I'd love to hear from you guys down below, so make sure to leave a comment. Hope you all are doing amazing, incredible, and that life is going good. Be humble. Be gracious. You know, have gratitude for what you got. Make sure your people know they're loved. And yeah. Ba-boom. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends.